Welcome everyone to your qualifying report for the 2020 Formula 1 Hungarian Grand Prix. A session which could prove to be one of the most important qualifying sessions of the entire season. Known is the Hungarian circuit for Monaco without the barriers. It's going to be tricky tomorrow to overtake, but with showers potentially on the way and wet conditions potentially playing a part in the race, hopefully that should spice things up. However, today's session was awesome. Stories up and down the grid. So if you are new around here, spoiler warning ahead. Feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all Formula 1 2020 news, reviews, all that good stuff. Spoiler warning out of the way, and here is your result for the Hungarian Grand Prix qualifying. Lewis Hamilton, pole position once again. The King of Hungary continues his dominance. Valtteri Bottas making it a Mercedes 1-2, the team pretty much in a class of their own this weekend, no surprise, following the trend of the first two races of the season. Lance Stroll equaling his best ever qualifying performance in third place for Racing Point, followed by teammate Sergio Perez, that team looking very, very spicy indeed. Ferrari looking better this time out, Vettel P5, Charles Leclerc P6, and for the first time this season, Q3 featured both Ferraris. Max Verstappen, the lead Red Bull car, down in 7th place, not a good time for them today. 8th and 9th are two McLarens, and Pierre Gasly rounded out the top 10. Your bottom half looks like this. Daniel Ricciardo tried an alternate strategy on the medium tyres, couldn't quite get through in P11. George Russell, a sensational performance today in P12. Behind him though, Alex Albon really struggled in P13. Ocon and Latifi rounded off your runners in Q2. Magnussen, Kvyat, Grosjean, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen all out in Q1. Before we have a rundown and the stories throughout the day and a bit of a more analysis of today's session, this is your grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas share the front row once again for Mercedes, but it's an all Racing Point affair behind. Then it's the two Ferraris of Vettel and Leclerc on row 3. Verstappen and Norris make up row 4, once again starting side by side in 2020. Sainz and Gasly round out your top 10. Ricciardo and Russell, the first cars with free choice of tyres. Albon and Ocon in behind. Latifi, Magnussen, Kvyat, Grosjean. It's then the two Alfa Romeos rounding up your grid. And I think this week, as we move into the good part of the video, the real deconstruction of the session, I'll start at the bottom and work our way forward. And it's this bottom group we've been speaking about over the last couple of weeks that have really formed now. And it's usually the two Alfa Romeos, the two Haas cars, and the two Williams cars. However, the Hungarian Grand Prix characteristics, much more focused on downforce. I think a lot of us were thinking that that would favour the Ferrari cars, not so much of an emphasis on straight line speed. However, both Alfa Romeo cars dead last. Raikkonen really struggled, and for the first time in his career is out in Q1 for 4 races in a row, really having a difficult time of it is old Kimi. And Giovinazzi couldn't do much better, only 1 place in front of his teammate. They've got a lot to do here this weekend, and points seems like a long, long way off. In front of them, Romain Grosjean initially looked like he was getting through to Q2, however messed up on his final lap in Q1. Ultimately, way down in P18. His teammate was a couple of places ahead in P16, but ultimately, Haas not looking great. Alpha not looking great. It's looking like a real uphill battle for them tomorrow. And with overtaking opportunities really limited at a circuit like this, it's just not looking good. The big surprise out in Q1 though, Danny Kvyat. Pierre Gasly had done very, very little running, missed completely first practice, second practice was wet, third practice this morning got a bit more running in, but even during qualifying was having issues with his engine. However, he got through. Kvyat caught in a little bit of traffic, couldn't put the lap together, and in a car which we've said is kind of in a realm of its own really, in front of that backpack, but just a little bit off that midfield. Big surprise to see Danny out in Q1. And again, at a circuit like this, he's got a lot of work to do and he's going to have to get his elbows out a little bit. Of course, this is the circuit where he got his first ever Formula 1 podium back in 2014. But I don't think we're going to see a story like that today. In front of that back group though, Nicholas Latifi, for the first time in his Formula 1 career, through to Q2, likewise with teammate George Russell. And it wasn't bad actually today from Latifi. I think though people were hoping Russell might be able to squeeze through, I don't think a lot of people were expecting Nicholas Latifi to get through to Q2. And Russell fully deserves all the attention that's going to be on him today after a magic performance. A bit of love for Latifi as well. That car is so much better than last year, yes, but it's still the worst car on the grid. And to not only out-qualify both Hasses, both Alfa Romeos, but also Danny Kvyat and an Alfa Tauri is very, very impressive indeed. And to be just 2 places behind the Red Bull is an awesome job from Nicholas Latifi. Ocon struggled today, a little bit more like we saw from the first race of the season, a little bit behind teammate Ricciardo and also towards that lower end of the midfield. But in all fairness to Ocon and also Ricciardo, that Renault didn't seem fantastic today, and also the team did go for a gamble on medium tyres in Q2. They thought they could get it to work, it didn't, and whereas the cars were getting quicker and quicker in Q1 at the end of the session, Q2 didn't quite pan out that way, and Ricciardo and Ocon really did get caught out by that. Ultimately, Ocon at P14. And another driver caught out by that, Alex Albon. 13th place, really struggled today. We said last week he didn't have the best time of it, and Hungary could be a circuit he could really bounce back at. Should suit the characteristics of the Red Bull. However, that didn't really come to play at all. Red Bull really struggling. Albon got the brunt of that. Out in Q2. Supposedly had an issue with the front wing, though it didn't seem too massive, and was complaining about traffic, but that didn't seem like a huge problem either. But the pace in that car in general, for some reason, at a circuit a lot of us thought Red Bull would be a real threat, it just never came to fruition. 13th for Albon, a lot of work to do tomorrow. But he's in a strong car, and he should be able to get some points. So I wouldn't worry too much, but this will be kind of a make or break race for Alex to really prove that he does deserve to be at Red Bull, and Red Bull putting their faith in him is warranted. We'll have to wait and see. George Russell P12 in front though. The fact he beat a Red Bull is one thing, the fact he got into Q2 is another, but to once again be a couple of tenths off Q3 is incredible. This time in dry conditions, testament to the progress Williams have made over the last 12 months. Testament to Russell's ability, and in a week where we saw Russell confirmed he's going to stay at Williams next year, obviously assuming Russell wanted to move to Mercedes and Mercedes turned down the opportunity. I tell you what, he's really telling them that he deserves a chance at some point, if it's not next year, the year after. What a session it was. This man is really proving to be the talent we all saw he was in Formula 2. We didn't have opportunities to see that last year, thanks to the awful pace of the Williams. But this year, he's getting involved in that midfield fight. We said it last weekend, maybe there would be chance of points, but had a bit of a scrappage with Kevin Magnussen, which didn't quite come the way of Russell last weekend. This weekend, however, they do have genuine pace. This was a dry session. We've seen how Russell is in wet conditions if it does rain tomorrow. And also, if he can just nick a couple of places, there may be a penalty for Carlos Sainz coming in after blocking Kvyat in Q1, I think it was. And we may see Gasly taking a penalty if he has to have a new engine. So potentially, if Russell can move up a couple of places on those opening laps and hold position, there could be points for Williams tomorrow. And the final driver outside the top 10, Daniel Ricciardo. A quiet session again for Renault, really. Like I said with Ocon, they tried that alternate strategy, tried to go on the mediums. It didn't work out. Was it worth the gamble? I don't think so. They were always going to be on the edge of going out in Q2. So why they decided to go on that strategy, I'm not too sure. Because like Ocon, Ricciardo's lap, though he improved, didn't improve enough thanks to the temperatures at the circuit getting cooler and cooler. So yes, they'll have tyre choice tomorrow, and like Russell, there may be a few penalties to Sainz and Gasly that they may benefit from. But disappointed, I think. But tyre choice isn't a bad thing at a circuit like Hungary. Gasly somehow scraped through to Q3, had those issues that we spoke about. Even though he had those issues, the circuit getting slower and slower and colder helped him out, beating Alex Albon in the Red Bull, beating Ricciardo. That's not bad at all from Pierre. Second time, isn't it? Sorry, through to Q3 this season. doing a much better job than teammate Danny Kvyat, and is putting himself in that shop window like Russell is for Mercedes. Gasly's saying, look, guys, I mean, I know I got dropped, but I've still got some pace here, and is pretty much doing exactly what he did at the end of last season, comfortably beating teammate Kvyat and proving that he does have some speed, he does have some talent, but again, having those issues today may result in some kind of penalty tomorrow if the issue does turn out to be quite severe. Sainz and Norris, 8th and 9th, that's okay. It's probably not what they would have hoped for coming into this weekend. However, if you'd have told them at the beginning of the season they're only going to be behind 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, a Red Bull and 2 Racing Points, I think they would have taken that, and they will know tomorrow they have got genuinely slower cars behind, probably with the exception of Alex Albon, and they should be able to score some big points. They may hope for a bit of contact as well. Both Ferraris are next to each other on the grid, of course, and they will understand that Mercedes and a league of their own. Racing Point seem to be that second best car, and their fight tomorrow will be with the likes of Verstappen and the 2 Ferraris, which again, if you look at last year and you'd have said to McLaren, you're going to be in a fight with the Red Bulls and Ferraris tomorrow, that's not bad at all, is it? So McLaren, not too bad. Max Verstappen, 7th, that's a surprise. Was really struggling in all 3 practice sessions. Had a big spin this morning. Got caught up in traffic yesterday. Just didn't seem right at all with the car. And a little bit frustrated with how the weekend was unfolding. Fast forward to Q2. Q1 and he just got through, didn't he? 15th place. That was a little bit of a scare for him. Q2, his teammate goes out. And Q3, the pace is just genuinely nowhere. 7th place behind the 2 Ferraris at a circuit we all thought Red Bull would be right up there with Mercedes. A lot of work to do and a lot of question marks considering how they can do relatively well at a circuit like Austria, but be nowhere at a circuit like Hungary. Ferrari, 5th and 6th. That's more like it. I mean, it's nothing incredible, but it's not bad, is it? Beating both Red Bull cars, a big plus for them. Kind of at the front of the midfield this weekend, because can you really class Racing Point the second quickest car in the midfield? You can't really, can you? So, yeah, progress. Is there a possibility of a podium tomorrow? I'm not too sure. It's all going to come down to race pace. And last time out, when they had the upgrades, we didn't get to see their race pace because they went out in lap 1. So there's opportunities tomorrow for Ferrari. All 4 cars in front of them are starting on the medium tyres. That also may play into the team's hands on the opening lap. Vettel has always qualified in the top 5 here, continues that today. Sky were throwing that statistic around all day long, but he's done it. He's continued that statistic, and it's one of his better circuits for Sebastian Vettel. So whereas on Friday, a lot of you laughed at me for putting him in the top 5, Ferrari looking good, but I think still comfortably away from the Racing Point boys. Perez 4th, Stroll 3rd. That's a surprise in itself that Lance Stroll out-qualified Perez. And of all the weeks to do it, it's the week where people are saying that Vettel could be replacing Perez and that Stroll is much worse than Perez. Well, Stroll is going to try and prove people wrong there. And he's done exactly that in qualifying. Equaled his best ever. I mean, his best ever was Monza 2017, I want to say, 2018. And he got promoted to 2nd, didn't he? On the grid, thanks to penalties to Red Bull cars. But today, dry conditions, genuine pace from Lance Stroll. And it's not been his best circuit, never out in Q1 at this particular track. Big surprise, but fair play to him. He's always a driver that people say doesn't deserve his chance in F1, isn't good enough for F1. But I think today, and now he's finally got a quick car, he's proving people wrong. Very strong drive today from Lance, and has a good chance tomorrow for being on the podium. So good luck to him. And Sergio, of course, kind of fighting for his career, which is strange to say. He'll want to make a point. Maybe contact between the two of them to turn 1. We'll have to wait and see. And the 2 Mercedes, of course, in a league of their own. I kind of run out of things to say about them. So quick, so good. Fair play to them. It really is. It's great that we've got a midfield fight of pretty much everyone else. And it's slightly disappointing that if we got rid of Mercedes, the fight would just be incredible. But you've got to say fair play to them. They've always kept their standards so high, and even through what everyone's been through this year, they've still smashed it. Other teams have failed. They have just continued to be excellent. Hamilton pole, Bottas second. Unless there's some kind of incident or mechanical failure, it should be that way tomorrow. Before we go then, driver of the day and ones to watch. Quite a few candidates for driver of the day. Hamilton's lap was fantastic. Lance Stroll did a great job. Both Ferraris doing better. Gasly with all his issues. But I have to give it to George Russell. Last week, I didn't give it to Russell. I was so close to giving it to him. I got the graphic ready. And then Hamilton went on pole by 1.2 seconds. So Russell didn't get it last week, but he thoroughly deserves it this week. On pure pace, pure performance, P12, almost a second in front of teammate Latifi, almost through to Q3. What a drive from George Russell. What a lap, as he put it in commentary. Fair play to him, like I said earlier, really proving he is a very special talent indeed. And my ones to watch for the race tomorrow, Lance Stroll, starting third on the medium tyres. Can he claim a second ever Formula 1 podium? Daniel Ricciardo often has had a bit of an up and down time here in Hungary. Had a fantastic win in 2014, but recent years has struggled a little bit more. But we know he's the king of the late breakers, and on those fresh tyres tomorrow could play into his favour. Our driver of the day, George Russell, keep an eye on him, whether he could score points for Williams. And my F1E one to watch for tomorrow's Grand Prix, Alex Albon. Will he struggle like today, or can he prove he deserves that Red Bull seat and show everyone why he is so hyped and so talented? We'll have to wait and see. And tomorrow, it is time, Grand Prix time, the Hungarian Grand Prix, live tomorrow, 2:10. Race review will be out after the race, of course. I'll also be joining the F1 Word live after the Grand Prix, so if you want to hear my instant thoughts, likewise of Sean, and I'm not too sure who the other guests are, whether it's Chain Bear or Jonty. I don't want to throw anything out there just yet, but that'll be up tomorrow. Sprint race in the morning, and the feature race, which I sometimes do the results of in this video, hasn't actually started just yet. I've been on the ball today, ladies and gents, so hopefully you've enjoyed that as well. Hopefully you enjoy the race tomorrow. Wet conditions potentially. Will it be a Mercedes 1-2? Likely. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you all for watching. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.